did you feel about Kurt Russell? So I think it's really funny when they're like, we have 17 soldiers left, but then the director is like, yeah, it's more like 30, but whatever. So there's 17 soldiers, but he kills 30 of them more. But how'd you feel about that final battle where he's just wiping all these people out in the point blank rocket launcher shot?
That was entertaining. I liked the little platoon throwback, by the way, when he comes out of the water.
Yeah.
Again, there was a lot of love lettering going on, I think, with this.
Wait, I'm sorry, I really interrupted you. I apologize. But before I forget, the scene that there's a scene that you're talking about where Gary Busey's talking to Jason Isaacs and Gary Church, he's like, you take a hammer to nail in a nail. And then Jason Isaac goes, will you say that in English, please? There's another scene where that happens.
My daddy always said, sometimes you got a stubborn nail that just won't go in. You just got to get a hammer and keep hammering it in. It was something like that.
Yeah, and then Jason Isaacs is, I don't understand what that means. But
would you say that in English?
But he said that very clear. Just use what works, right?
Right.
Hammer him.
Right.
So when he said, I don't know what that means, I'm like, wait, what does he mean? If I was an equal rank as Jason Isaacs at that moment, I would have been like, what do you mean by that?
Like, are you an idiot?
Only if I was equal rank. Hey, can I speak to you over here? So, you take a hammer and you hit a nail in. Do you not understand? Like, what about that? Don't you? I don't know.
And if it doesn't go in, you just keep hitting it with the hammer until it goes in. Do you get it? It'll move a little more.
Like, how can I explain that in English?
It's funny. Jason Isaacs, though, like, he strikes me as the guy, like, I'm not surprised he got into the best private military academy because of, like, his parents that were rich or something.
You're right.
But how did he reach such a high rank after that, being such a, and I mean this in the most sincere way, because I love Jason Isaacs as an actor, but his character was a sniveling shit at every single scene that we see him. Yep. Like, he's petulant. He's the child that holds his breath and stomps his feet when he doesn't get his way. Like, he had no patience for anything.
None. He would not be.
And he, yeah. When he doesn't get his way, he outbursts, right? So when they are coming to the planet, he's saying, like, this will be great. We can test my soldiers on this deserted garbage planet. He thought there were no humans on it. He was just going to have them ride tanks around, and he was going to call that testing.
That sounds pretty sweet, actually, doesn't it?
I'm just saying, though, like, he was going to call that a test.
Yep.
And there was no combat. And Busey's like, well, what if there are people on there? He's like, well, then we'll treat them as hostiles. Well, but so his idea of a test was riding around in tanks and confirming there was no one there. So then, when people were in fact there, he panics when things don't go his way. Just like, even though his soldier beat the 3 Kurt Russell generation soldiers, he beat 3 guys by himself. Kane did. Jason Scott Lee. He beat 3 by himself, 20 feet up on chains. And yet, because he injured his eye, he's like, yeah, this man is worthless. Like, I'm just like, really, he was just a child outburst.
Yep. Yeah.
It reminds me of Sean Spicer.
He's the guy who just, if you can't do anything because his dad is probably Wayland.
Right.
It's just, you can't punish this guy. If you sideline him, or if you're a general higher than him and you punish him, you're going to get corrected. And then Isaacs is going to come up and look at you with that snide look on his face, like, I got one over you. So
right.
he's just been enabled.
He's so good at it.
I love your reaction to his, though. I think that's great.
Wait, so, you were saying earlier, though, so, like, this is supposed to be a deserted planet to them, right? It's just a garbage dump planet. You were saying how all these questions were answered by Paul W.S. Anderson, and the writer, basically, in this film. There was one thing that I don't feel was answered, and that is, why is it, after the people who have that civilization that we encounter, right? Why, if they crashed there, did no one ever come looking for them or their wreckage?
Let's see. Maybe, I don't know. Remember Alien Covenant? when they get sucked into a random place because Michael set it off, where that goes off the radar, and then they would just disappear. Maybe it's something like that.
But this place has regular garbage dumps going there every 30 days.
Yeah, maybe they're just ignoring them.
It's very accessible in the solar system. It's like the one thing that stood out as my critical armchair question. Like basically the one thing there.
I would have built my place behind that big battleship. I'm sorry. Did you see the battleship scene there? You know how the wind comes out of nowhere?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
You mean about those dune sandstorms, basically?
Yeah. And what if they did a trash dump on top of their civilization?
I mean, maybe they did it where they. Yeah, I don't. That's another good armchair question. I feel like on a long enough timeline, the dumps are going to start spreading out with where they go. Yeah, and you're just going to end up under trash.
How'd they get an airship? They didn't answer how they got a battleship to that planet, because that's a lot, right?
Yeah, it would be.
I never asked that question though until we started talking. I gotta tell you though, my favorite part about the final battle is all the extras jumping on trampolines and then acting like there's an explosion behind them. So when Sean Pertwee gets his leg blown off, his stunt double jumps on a trampoline and does a beautiful front flip with 2 legs, and then he lands, and then he doesn't have a leg.
I did not notice that.
Was
that from the commentary?
No, they didn't say anything about that. Like they probably dared not to. But there's another random scene where there's an explosion, and you just see a guy flying in the air going whoa, and then they cut to something else. But it was just a scene of a guy doing a triple flip. I loved it.
It's very Tank Girl.
Yeah. But I love explosions that people have to jump off trampolines to shoot them away. So,
are you ready for the final fight?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, as we move towards the final fight, it starts pouring rain.
Pouring rain.
And Jason Scott Lee is basically the Dolph Lundgren Lieutenant Scott of Universal Soldier meets Fender from Cyborg, and both of those movies end with Van Damme fighting someone in the pouring rain.
Yep.
I swear, I don't think it's coincidence. I really think that this fight was set up with a love for those final fights.
Well, Paul, we spent so much time with Paul Anderson that I think you're 100% correct, because he has no problem. If he loves something in film, he'll put it in his film. So I didn't hear that in the commentary, but I agree with you 100% that he was recreating a scene that he loved.
Because, Fender was a step away from a cyborg. It was like he didn't feel pain. He was very determined. You had Lieutenant Scott, which, it's a Unisol. That's basically Jason Scott Lee. Lieutenant Scott. Jason Scott Lee.
Oh.
Dude, mine.
Shared universe?
Maybe, man. I don't know why not. This movie feels more to me like Universal Soldier than Blade Runner.
Who do you think would win, Todd and his crew? I think the Universal Soldiers would wipe the floor with them, because the Universal Soldiers don't walk in just straight lines.
Agreed. But also the Universal Soldiers had some kind of a specific, they actually had not just a genetic modification. Remember, you could shoot them in the thorax multiple times, and if you cooled them down on ice, they'd super heal back. And they were a level past Jason Scott Lee. Really, Universal Soldier, despite taking place in 1992, should take place right after this movie.
Oh my gosh.
It's just the next generation. And then Jason Isaacs can be like, Jason Scott Lee is obsolete.
Look at this Dolph Lundgren guy I got. The only problem is, I think Kurt Russell could get them not hot. That sounds weird, but he could overheat them, I think, if he just kept going. That's their only chance of winning.
If he was smart about it.
Yeah. Jason Scott Lee wouldn't be smart.
Would heat him up too, right? And he was smart. He looked down when he's fighting Jason Scott Lee.
Oh, that was my favorite part.
Todd versus Kane. He looks down at a sickle on the ground. Jason Scott Lee sees what he's looking at. Kane sees. He looks down. And when he reaches down to grab it, Todd reaches up to this crashed helicopter propeller and whips it down and slices his abdomen open. That was a really cool moment.
Yeah, that was That was awesome. I love that scene. I mean, that was a smart, and then he punches him in it later, in that sliced open abdomen.
Yeah. That was a great feign, though. Like, he really feigned him.
Oh, man. I think Kurt had a great hook and a great jab. And in the commentary, they made a funny joke where Jason Isaacs was like, of course you would do something like that. And then the producer was like, we actually considered him punching through the guy's stomach and like up into his heart, but they didn't do it for budget reasons. But yeah,
I'm glad they didn't, though. No, I'm glad they didn't. That would have been like the over the top for me, you know? Like, nothing was really over the top in this, and I like that.
And when he killed Jason Scott Lee, you could tell he wasn't too happy about it. There was like a mutual respect. He just snapped his neck.
Right. Well, mutual respect. Even when Todd knew that all those soldiers were coming down and all the people in the garbage civilization were like, yeah, okay, we need to get weapons and help you. He says, no, soldiers deserve soldiers. Great line.
And that's also a great way of saying, I don't need you guys helping me because it's going to cause me more work.
Could be. Yeah, maybe they're liability. But I mean, he had to know the odds were against him.
Yeah, you're right. I did like that soldier versus soldiers.
Soldiers deserve soldiers.
And then he just goes around wiping those. And so those masks that all those soldiers were wearing kept fogging up, so they had a really hard time seeing on set.
That's why Todd had such an easy time with them.
Yep.
That explains it.
Because Jason Isaacs didn't get them properly set up. They didn't really even need gas masks.
No, they had no reason for it. Well, unless they didn't know what the atmosphere was like, but it's a known garbage planet. Of course they know what the atmosphere is like.
Oh, you want to hear the weird tidbit? So on the far shots away of those tanks, they hired actors who were about 4 foot tall to make the vehicles look that much bigger.
Like,
there we go.
They could be 10-year-olds.
Yeah. That'd be more of a pain in the butt, though, getting 10-year-olds with their parents.
Oh, gosh.
Then you gotta shoot during certain times.
Yeah, you gotta have a tutor on set.
Yeah, exactly.
All that Hollywood crap.
Yeah, that's right. Oh.
And all this is building towards Jason Isaacs, Colonel Jason Sniveling Shit Isaacs, leaving a Stargate bomb.
Yes. just white. Like, but why? But that planet, why did he leave the bomb? They could have just left the people there.
So what's interesting to me is that Jason Isaacs wanted to get rid of Todd and the other two guys when they were testing their fighting ability, right? Because, we're going to write this up as a training, error, a training accident. And then later he's talking about things that result in less paperwork and no accountability. But if you leave a garbage dump planet and the garbage dump planet explodes, I feel like people are going to ask a lot more questions.
Yeah. Hey, why was our planet blown up? We got a good thing going here.
Like, I think we need to go send a garbage run to Axon 6. No, that is now an asteroid belt. Oh, why? Weird. Wouldn't that be catastrophic too? If you destroy a planet? I don't know. That was very short-sighted of him, but he's a sniveling shit, so we know he's impetulant. He's petulant.
He does not think 2 steps ahead because he's never had to his entire life.
I was going to say impetulant. I meant to say impatient and petulant.
Well, I knew what you meant, actually. That's weird.
He's impetulant.
Yeah, impetulant. I have no time for this. Let's go. We just got here. So final thoughts about this movie, man. I keep forgetting. We had the poll on our Movies, Films, and Flicks page for your favorite Kurt Russell movies, and we got the winners. John, you want to hear the winners?
I got to tell before you say it, okay, I wish that – so Mark crafted this. I submitted my votes, and I was very conflicted that you allowed everyone to give 3 votes instead of 4. Because I saw Captain Ron, The Thing, Tombstone, and Big Trouble in Little China. And I can't pick 3 out of those 4. Did you just pick one? I picked the first 3 that I saw.
Nah.
And I saw the 4th. I'm like, I don't know how to pick. I short-circuited.
You were there for about 2 hours staring at it?
Really? I was very conflicted.
Well, you want to hear the winners?
Okay, here we go.
Tombstone, number 1, 18% of the vote.
That was number 1?
Yeah, there's a huge...
I'm not unhappy about it. I love that movie.
Huge Tombstone contingent. Then Thing was 2 with 15%, and Big Trouble in Little China was third with 14%.